Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Well, today is February 10th, 2023, which means we are exactly 4 weeks out from a really big deadline that some of you may be letting slip through the cracks. So I had to get this video done to just remind you that, hey, we got a big deadline rolling around. See, we've been spun up lately about pistol braces and everything that's going on with this year's legislative session. But there are some remnants of last year's legislative session that are about to rear its ugly head once again and could significantly affect you, the lawful and responsible gun owner here in Washington State. So today, let's all talk about urgent, huge date, rapidly approaching if you own an untraceable firearm in Washington State. Okay, before we get going down the road we are going down, proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by Hyperion Precision LLC, Custom Engraving and Design. Have you ever thought about having to get firearms engraved? Well, at the end of this video, many more of you may be thinking about it, but let us also remember that we are in the middle of a very unique time in American history called Pistol Brace Amnesty Registration, which if you do own a firearm that you at one point in your life thought was an AR pistol, you now discover it's actually a federally regulated short barrel rifle. If you go through that Form 1 process and have it approved, you're going to have an NFA item. That's going to require further engraving on that firearm. Well, what are you going to do? Many of you have never had to do this before, and some of you have. What are you going to have to do when you suddenly have a whole bunch of firearms? Well, visit my good friends at Hyperion Precision LLC down in Kent. They are located right here. Listen, they've been doing this for years. They absolutely specialize in custom engraving on firearms. So whether you're having to make an otherwise untraceable firearm traceable, pursuant to what we're going to be talking about in this video, or you have approved NFA items that need further engraving, visit my good friends at Hyperion Precision LLC. Tell them that William at Washington Gun Law sent you. For more contact information, you can call them at this number here. You can email them right here to this email address, or you can visit them on Facebook. So once again, visit my good friends at Hyperion Precision LLC, Custom Engraving and Design. Okay, so the issue we're talking about today is House Bill 1705 from last year's legislative session. Okay, that was the bill passed into law that significantly changed the legal landscape as to how Washington would regulate untraceable firearms. Now, let's set the parameters of who this affects right now, because when we say untraceable firearms, most viewers have a very broad interpretation of what that would mean, which is any firearm without a serial number. And while some states and some jurisdictions may define it that way, Washington State has a much more limited definition found in RCW 9.41.010 subsection 41. And it's important you understand that limitation to understand whether or not this subject matter that we're talking about today even applies to you or not. The definition reads, untraceable firearm means any firearm manufactured after July 1st, 2019 that is not an antique firearm and that cannot be traced by law enforcement by means of a serial number affixed to the firearm by a federal firearms manufacturer, importer, or dealer in compliance with all federal laws and regulations. So when I am talking about untraceable firearms in this video, what I am referring to is any firearm without a serial number which was manufactured after July 1st, 2019. Now, I know some of you are already banging away on the keyboard saying, well, how are they ever going to prove that? Okay, that is not a component of this bill. But the important thing is that there was no unconstitutional burden shifting placed upon you, the lawful and responsible gun-owning citizen, to prove the lawfulness of that possession. Rather, it would be the prosecutor's job to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the unlawfulness of that possession. Now, when this bill was passed, what it created was a new law, which is RCW 9.41.326. Now, that law went into effect on July 1st of last year. And the moment that law went into effect, and we did this video right here about it, it was unlawful from that date moving forward for us to manufacture any untraceable firearm. It was unlawful for us even to assemble an untraceable firearm. But that still left this window of time between July 1st, 2019 and the activation of the new law 941-326 on July 1st of 2022, where you have these grandfathered firearms that don't have serial numbers on them. What do we do with that? Well, the law 941.326 is very clear when it says, after March 10th, 2023, no person may knowingly or recklessly possess, transport, or receive an untraceable firearm unless the party possessing, transporting, or receiving the untraceable firearm is a law enforcement agency or a federal firearms importer, manufacturer, or dealer. So am I saying now, as of March 10th, 2023, if you possess one of these firearms, you will become an unlawful citizen? Absolutely not, because there is one huge exception found in RCW 9.41.326, subsection 4D, which reads, subsections 2 and 3 of this section do not apply to any firearm that D has been imprinted by a federal firearms dealer or other federal licensee authorized to provide marking services as provided for in RCW 9.41.328. Or put in simple English, if you go get that firearm engraved with a serial number before March 10th of 2023, you will be able to remain in lawful possession of that firearm. What's the good news? You get to keep the firearm. What's the bad news? The only way you get to keep it is you have to take your untraceable firearm and turn it, of course, into a traceable firearm. Okay, and then if you are an FFL or someone else authorized to do the engraving, you need to pay attention to RCW 9.41.328, which has some specific requirements for you there. So bottom line is this, is if you own an untraceable firearm that was manufactured sometime after July 1st, 2019, you have until March 10th of this year, 4 weeks from today, to have that firearm engraved if you want to maintain lawful possession. If you choose not to comply with this law and you are subsequently found guilty of this, a first offense constitutes a civil infraction, a second offense constitutes a misdemeanor, and any subsequent offense beyond that constitutes a gross misdemeanor. It is a separate count for each prohibited firearm that you are found in possession of. Listen, if you have any more questions about having untraceable firearms turned into traceable firearms or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, remember, you can always contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Now, in the meantime, let's remember, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.